everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you guys paranormal romance recommendations. I'm so excited about doing this video. I've done a video kind of like this in the past. I'll link it up in the cards above. That was when I was like just starting to get into this subgenre of romance, so I gave a couple of recommendations, but mainly I was talking about my TBR and books that I was excited to get to that are paranormal romances. But this video is going to strictly be a recommendations video, especially if you're just starting to get into this subgenre. I've got some great ones for you, but I also have some more obscure recommendations as well, so definitely stay tuned. So the first couple of series I'm going to talk about are more of like your classic paranormal romance series. These are the series that a lot of people go into when they're just getting into paranormal romance. So the first true adult paranormal romance series that I got into was the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. I have now read 5 books in this series, and I do recommend going with this series if you're just getting into the subgenre. It is a vampire romance series, but it also has its own unique vibe and world to it. So we have this elite group of male vampires who are the Black Dagger Brotherhood. They are tasked with protecting the rest of the vampire race, and so each book is a romance with each of the Brotherhood, but there's also plots going on with these beings known as lessers, who are essentially undead humans. And there's just other things going on in the world in general. It's just a very unique vibe and feel to it for sure. So I definitely recommend it. I personally really enjoyed the first 3 books. The last couple of books that I've read in the series, not so much, but I still think it's a good one to kind of dip your toe into if you're interested in it. And then another one that I would recommend is the Night Huntress series by Janine Frost. So this is a 7-book series. The Black Dagger Brotherhood series, let me just point out, that series has like 18 plus books to it, and I believe J.R. Ward is still writing books for the series, so it's quite the commitment, although of course you don't have to read the entire series if you don't want to. But this one is just 7 books. Janine Frost is quite the prolific author. My goodness, she has quite a few different series out. They are all taking place in this same Night Huntress world. But I've only read this one series in particular, and it centers around our 2 main characters, Cat and Bones. Cat is half human, half vampire. At the beginning of the first book, she is just trying to kill as many vampires as possible because she believes that they are truly all evil monsters. And then we have Bones, who is a full-on vampire. He's been alive for a couple of centuries at this point, and it's kind of a hate-to-love romance going on, because when Cat first meets Bones, she's trying to kill him. This is just a fun time. I will say there are some books in this series that I didn't love as much as others. I would overall give this like a solid 4-star. I think it's a good series to start with. Once again, if you're just dipping your toe into this genre, this is an interesting world as well, and there's tons of spin-off series. I think I've already mentioned that. Janine Frost has written like a million books at this point that take place in this world. So now let's get into more of my recommendations. The first one that I have to bring up is The Headmaster by Tiffany Rice. I do not want to say too much about this book, because if I do, it will definitely spoil it. It's only like a 5-hour audiobook. It's a very short book, but it's one of my favorite, especially like Gothic paranormal-y romances. I haven't found that many Gothic romances that I truly love, but this is one of them. And it's about our main character. She's on her way, I believe, to a new job somewhere. So she's just driving her car, and I believe her car breaks down. And so it turns out that she comes upon this small town where there is this private school that is looking for an English teacher, and that's the type of teacher that she is. And so she gets a job at this school where she meets the headmaster, and he is this gorgeous man, and they hit it off right away. And it's just such a beautiful story. It goes in directions that you definitely won't expect. And I adore Tiffany Rice, and I think this is my favorite book that I've read by her so far. It's absolutely beautiful. And then while I'm thinking about it, let me recommend the 3 paranormal romance novellas that I've read that I really loved. The first one is Mating the Huntress by Talia Hibbert. Oh my goodness. I need Talia Hibbert to write more installments in this series already. I believe this is supposed to be a series of novellas, and we are centering around our main character who hunts werewolves, and she's in this family that I believe like only the women in their family hunt werewolves for some reason. It's kind of like a matriarchal society family thing going on, and she meets this guy, I believe his name is Luke or Lucas, and he is a werewolf. He is just obsessed with her. She works at a convenience store and he comes to visit her every day, and he's just enamored by her. He is just in love with her. And so she agrees to go out with him, but she's secretly planning to kill him. And so she goes to his cabin with him, and that's exactly what she tries to do. And things go on from there. This was just, it was so great. I need to reread this soon because that's how much I enjoyed it. Another novella that I would highly recommend is Deal with the Demon by Chase Verity. Oh my God, this was so wholesome. Like, you don't expect that out of paranormal romances, but this was just so sweet. So we have our heroine, she's a single mom, she's got 2 kids, and she's just very overwhelmed. She comes across this business card for, it's like a vaguely worded business that is just meant to help people out, and so she just scans the QR code with her phone to see what will happen. And like all the lights go out, and when the lights come up, a demon is summoned. So she's just summoned a demon with her phone. And yeah, this demon's job is to help her out in any way that he can. And they slowly fall in love throughout this novella. And it's just so sweet and wholesome because the demon hero is just so sweet. And he just falls like hopelessly in love with her. And I also loved how he interacted with her kids. And there's also some really great like LGBTQ plus representation in this as well. It's just, it's great. Highly, highly recommend. And then the last novella that I had to talk about is The Witch's Wolves by Ellie Mae McGregor. Oh my God, this is like the coziest of paranormal romances. Definitely has like cottagecore vibes to it as well. It's kind of a story, like a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, but if Little Red Riding Hood was accused of being a witch, and so she's literally running away from this mob that is trying to kill her, and she runs into this cabin where these 2 wolfmen live, and they're in a relationship with each other, and they start to fall for her right away, kind of more of an insta-love situation. And so it's a polyamorous sort of retelling of Little Red if she got together with 2 wolfmen, and this one is also very sweet and wholesome, but really hot as well. I actually forgot, I have one more paranormal romance novella to recommend, but this one's more of a Christmassy read. That is The Earl of Christmas Past by Kerrigan Byrne. This one I read as part of a holiday anthology of like historical romances, but I did want to bring it up because it is a paranormal romance that I genuinely enjoyed, and this is kind of getting into the holiday season now, right? So I would definitely recommend saving this for the Christmas season. It was just a really great romance with our heroine who meets this ghost when she's staying at an inn. And yeah, I don't want to say anything more about this story because there's quite a few plot twists and turns throughout, and it's really great. It's one of the few things that I've personally read by Kerrigan Byrne that I truly, truly loved. I don't know if she's the historical romance author for me personally, but I really, really enjoyed this novella. Okay, now to talk about 2 of my absolute favorite book series of all time. Oh my goodness. The first one, this is Burn for Me by Ilona Andrews. This is book 1 in the Hidden Legacy series. So this is a series, it's technically broken up into 2 trilogies. I've read the entire first trilogy and the novella that kind of bridges the gap between the 2 trilogies, but I'm holding off on reading the second trilogy because it's not quite complete yet. I think that final book is coming out next year. But this is more of an urban fantasy series, and the romance is quite slow burn. There's really only like an inkling of it in this first book, but oh my God, I absolutely adore Ilona Andrews' writing style. It's actually a husband and wife writing duo, and it's just, their writing is fantastic. But we are centered around Nevada. She is a private investigator, and this is in a world where there are magical families, and really the magical families own the government, and this takes place in Houston specifically. And the love interest in this series is Connor Mad Rogan, who is what is known as a prime, which is like the highest tier of magic users in this world. What's really cool is that Nevada's power is that she can tell truths from lies, which is very, very valuable if you are a private investigator for sure. But basically, Connor and Nevada are after this same dude that is causing problems in Houston. He's definitely not a good guy, and so things quickly go on from there. This series is just phenomenal. Each book centers around a different conflict and kind of a different villainous character going on. It's absolutely fantastic. I would also recommend going into the series if you're just starting to get into Ilona Andrews like I did, because I have started to dive into one of their other series, but I'm really glad that I started with this one because yeah, it's just absolutely perfect. Another one of my absolute favorite series of all time, oh my goodness, and I finished reading it earlier this year, is the Succubus Blues, or the Georgina Kincaid series by Richelle Mead. Richelle Mead is one of my favorite authors ever. I've read 18 books by her at this point. She is the author of the Vampire Academy series as well as the Bloodlines series, which are both YA paranormal series, but this one is definitely more of an adult paranormal romance series, and we are centering around Georgina Kincaid. She is a succubus, and a succubus is a paranormal creature that sucks the life energy out of human men that she has good times with, right? And she meets this guy Seth, who is the author of her favorite book series ever, and things go on from there. I just love like the dry, sarcastic sense of humor we have going on. Each book just gets better and better and better, if that's even possible, because I gave all of them 5 stars. They're all equally phenomenal books. I love all of the side characters, like Georgina's friends. She works in a bookstore, which is really fun. There's also this like really entertaining bureaucracy going on with hell in general, and her supervisors are like different kinds of demons, and there's also angels involved, and vampires and other creatures as well. Like it's so good, and I wish more people would read it or more people would talk about it, because it truly is a fantastic series. This was written back in like 2007-ish, and I think it ages really well. The final book in particular made me sob crying, because there's kind of like a redemption arc storyline going on, and it truly is like an epic romance between Georgina and Seth. So I just have a few books left to talk about, but first I thought I would specifically talk about 2 historical paranormal romances that I absolutely loved. The first one is After Midnight by Teresa Medeiros. This one is about Caroline, our main character. She has a younger sister who is kind of betrothed to this Viscount whose name is Adrian, who has been rumored to be a vampire. And things go on from there. This is one of those books that throughout reading it, it's definitely a slower pace, a slower burn romance as well. This is one of those books that will also make you flip-flop between, well, is this actually paranormal or not? It'll definitely make you second guess yourself while you're reading it. And I adored Adrian, our hero. Like, I just thought he was hot, and he's like a very much like broody kind of guy, and it definitely takes a while for Caroline and Adrian to fall in love, and I just loved the vibe of this book. Like I said, it's definitely a slower paced read. I don't know if I would have loved it as much as I did if I would have tried to read it in one go or one day, but because I was reading like a small chunk of it throughout a few days, I was just absolutely obsessed with it and really loved it. I think I might read book 2 in this little duology. I think that's called The Vampire Who Loved Me, but we'll just have to see. I really loved this. And then the other one that I have to mention is A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Catherine Moon. I know that so many people have been talking about this book on Book Talk and BookTube, and for very good reason. This is a reverse harem. Our main character, Esther, she's working as a maid. She gets laid off from that job, and she meets this doctor, Dr. Underwood. So this doctor recognizes that Esther really enjoys the company of men, shall we say. And so she kind of has a one-night stand with Dr. Underwood, but meanwhile he turns into Mr. Tanner, so like a Jekyll and Hyde situation, while they're having fun times together. And so he tells her about this place, Rooksgrave Manor, which is a place where human women can entertain men that are different paranormal creatures. And so she has 5 men in her harem. One of them's like a vampire, a golem, a sphinx shifter, an invisible man, and of course the Dr. Underwood, Mr. Tanner guy. And this is just so fun. I will say it's kind of long-winded, and it's like 90% sex scenes, so just know that this is definitely erotica, but it's a really fun time, and I loved just the vibe of this, and I'm really excited for book 2 of this series to come out. I think that's going to center around a different character. All right, guys, we have just a couple paranormal romances left. The first one I have to talk about is Midnight with the Devil by Emma Castle. This is technically book 1 in her Unlikely Heroes series, and this is literally a deal with the devil romance, and it was everything that I could have wanted from this premise. So we have our main character Diana. Her father is dying in the hospital. I think he has like very advanced cancer. And then we have our hero Lucian Starr, who is literally the devil, and he finds her when she's praying in the hospital chapel, and she makes a deal with him that he will make her father all better, but in exchange for that she has to spend every Friday night with him. I think that's the deal that they strike. And things go on from there. Her father does recover completely from his illness, and she starts spending these Friday nights with him, and things get really, really steamy. It's a great time. There is also a really cool redemption arc that Emma Castle uses with Lucian's character. I also just loved like the liberties that she took with this version of the devil and how hell works in general, and the ending is just absolutely fantastic. Cannot recommend it highly enough. And then last but certainly not least, we have to talk about Wolf Gone Wild by Juliet Cross. This is book 1 in her Stay a Spell series. I am planning on reading the other 2 books that are out so far in this series as soon as possible because this one's absolutely fantastic. This series takes place in New Orleans, which I adore that so much. I feel like New Orleans is the perfect place to set a paranormal romance, right? But this one, it's about our main character Evie. She is a witch, and then we have Mateo, who is a werewolf, but he has a hex put upon him. He doesn't know who or why this hex has been put upon him, but essentially he can't shift fully into his wolf form, which is not good because that wolf form, who is known as Alpha, it's kind of his alter ego, that inner wolf doesn't have an outlet. So one of the things I adored about this book is Alpha, Mateo's inner wolf, because he's constantly saying things in Mateo's mind, like he constantly wants to beat people up, and he immediately falls in love with Evie, the heroine, and he just like wants to have sex with her constantly, and it's just like so entertaining because Mateo's trying to think rationally and he's trying to like live his life, and Alpha just keeps like interrupting him. And it's just fantastic. Like I said, the vibe of this is everything. I cannot wait to continue on with the series. Like, yeah, it's just really great. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this paranormal romance recommendations video. I hope that you enjoyed. I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do. And if you want to leave a comment down below and discuss your favorite paranormal romances with me, I would love that as well. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!